Hi, Kathy. Good, how are you?
We are up and streaming now. Still nothing?
No. I'll try Maria's, but I don't know what to tell you.
That's odd.
It worked earlier today.
Try shutting it down and bringing it all the way back up.
Yeah.
I have to ask.
I'll do it again too if I need to.
I have like 10 minutes first here.
Me? I can't hear anything. No. No.
Good evening. We're going to go ahead and start the regular meeting for the Boone County Board of Education, October 8, 2020, 7:30 p.m. A couple of housekeeping items just for the folks that are watching online. We do have 50 in the room here at the Ralph Rush Center. We're following state guidelines from the governor on that. We are socially distanced under the healthy at work guidelines. If you want to take your mask off, you're allowed to take your mask off. If you're at a podium addressing a crowd, you can have your mask off. And we do have overflow set up at a couple of places in the building. I think we have a few folks there as well. So if you would, please join me in the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we are going to amend the agenda tonight. We are going to, well, I'm going to recommend we amend the agenda. It'll have to be approved, I guess, but I'm going to recommend that we move the superintendent's report in front of the new business items. So I guess that would go from you want to do it right after good news? Yeah. So I'm sorry, we're gonna move the superintendent's report to right after the good news items and before our business items. So that is the recommendation. Can I get a motion, please? In a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will carry. That brings us to item 3 on the agenda, student board member representative report, Ms. Toni Clevenger.
Thank you. Regarding new members for the Superintendent Student Advisory Council for this school year, we did put out an interest form, which is now closed, and we actually got over 100 responses. So in those responses, they were scored by a rubric in order to aid in the selection process, which has been finalized and is currently going through school administration for each respective school of the students. So currently we're having discussions with school administration in order to make sure that they agree that the students we selected do accurately represent their school and are sufficient for their school. So after these conversations are finalized and all the administration approves of the selected students, we're hoping to start off with a high school meeting in order to discuss goals for this school year specifically, and then follow with a meeting of the entire Superintendent Student Advisory Council. So in sum, progress is being made. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the update. Brings us to item 4, good news. Mr. Turner.
Mr. Sheehy, come on forward. We have a few more things to say. Mr. Sheehy graduated cum laude from the University of Maine, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in philosophy. He also received his master's degree in special education from the University of San Diego. He spent 6 years working in special education, and in 1978 went to work for Delta Airlines, where he spent 28 years before joining the Boone County Board of Education in 2006 as our Human Resources Director. We appreciate Mr. Sheehy's dedication to our district, and we wish him well in his future retirement endeavors of traveling and spending time with his family. Congratulations again, Joe.
Well, for the better part of 14, 15 years, I've sat at that table and haven't said much of anything, so there's not really any sense of me spouting off tonight. But I do want to say just a couple things. First of all, my wife of 36 years has been a great partner on this journey that we've been through, so I thank her. And I thank Ryan Blavit and Randy Poe and the board for giving me this opportunity to serve the children of Boone County in this very unique way. But it's all about the team that we have in HR. So I need to recognize these folks, if you give me just a second. But Eric Ball, Tina Herbert, Wendy Fox, Ruby Gammons, Kirby Thompson, Missy Watkins, Jimmy Willett, Teresa Dunnigan, Jen Winsett, Kim Wall, Sherry Brown, Carla Black, Danielle McCarthy, and myself. These people, these 13, 14 people serve 3,500 employees in Boone County schools and try their best to make their lives better in terms of their employment, their benefits, the way we can help them, so that they in turn can pay attention to the kids at Boone County schools. And if you look at the ratio of 14 people to 3,500, you'll find this is a very productive crew. And I'm very surprised and honored that some of them were able to come tonight. So I thank you very much, and I thank you, board, for
Hey,
this.
Phil, let's bring up your team that's here and get a picture.
Congratulations again, Phil. Lastly, for our good news items, we do have a quick announcement. On October 13th and October 29th, we have a public forum for the redistricting of Steeplechase Elementary School at 7 p.m. here at the Ralph Rush Professional Development Center. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr. Sheehy. Okay, that brings us to item 5 on our agenda, audience of citizens.
Good day, Superintendent's report.
Oh, I flipped my page too quick. Sorry. Okay, so item 5, the new item 5, our superintendent's report, Mr. Turner.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a brief presentation by the operations side of our organization, of our school district, and also the instructional side of our school district. So let me first introduce Mrs. Watson. She's going to talk for just a few minutes about some of the work going on with learning support and the instructional side of the Boone County schools.
All right,
thank you all for giving us to share kind of the work that's happening in our schools. So on the instructional support side, you're going to hear from myself, we're going to hear from Dr. Jason Radford on schooling systems improvement, and then Becky Rubin on student and community services. So just briefly, this is just kind of a very quick update with what's happening with our schools. So starting with all levels, elementary, middle, and high, obviously our teachers in schools are trying to balance the AB model students of what we have kind of going on now with virtual. So just overall, that means that there's staffing differences in every building. So not every school's model looks exactly the same because of staffing and the option for option 1 or option 2 that parents and students selected. Schools are using the district pacing guide that's posted on our district website to drive instruction based on those focused priority standards. So that has been an essential component to keep alignment with our schools moving forward. So we're super excited that schools are reporting that they've been able to keep pace for the most part with the current models as they are. We're also using the data. We've got running records, Boulder assessment in kindergarten, first grade. We're finishing STAR Insert up this month, either at the remote learning level or during school, in person. We've got the school level formative in some ways, and we're making good decisions on how is our instructional delivery working? Do we need to move faster, slower? That's all being done. And then LSS is continuing to provide professional support for our schools. For special education, obviously this is a difficult service model for certain populations of students. Our teachers have been heroic in servicing our kids of special populations. Itinerant teachers are often working across buildings, across levels, collaborating with different teams of teachers, and they have been instrumental in ensuring that our students are served well for special education. So if I'm an A student, a B student, or a virtual student, those same teachers are finding ways to service those kids. Same with English language learners, and in spite of the pandemic, our English language learner numbers continue to increase. So I have our current EL numbers there. 1,351 classified as LEP with language services, 437 RFP, meaning that they're still being serviced in some way. And that's an increase of 150 English language learners from this date a year ago. So we're still getting those students enrolled every single day. 61 of those 150 are newcomers. So they are still coming into our school. So that is something that I want to make sure everybody continues to be aware of. Technology, as the whole world has ordered multiple Chromebooks, with this pandemic, we continue to have delays in orders. We're working to remedy that. Marianne Rankin and her team have been instrumental in making that progress happen for schools and then trying to be creative until we get that technology in place. Okay, I'll turn it over to Dr. Radford.
Thank you. Good evening. So the vision for our office is to provide rigorous and equitable and accessible, relevant learning opportunities for the schools that we serve. And as you can see there, as you heard Ms. Watson speak about core instruction, we really have taken the approach, just like everyone else within our district, of supporting our schools of whether we're virtual or whether we're in person, providing those opportunities and working with our teachers. You've heard a little bit about special populations and interventions. Again, just reiterating, our staff, our teachers are working extremely hard to make those connections and remove barriers for our English learners, for our students with disabilities. We're also providing, trying to solve problem solving for response to intervention, because that's really important as we try to progress our learners through the curriculum and then meet them, give them what they need to overcome those barriers from a learning perspective. In addition, our office is overseeing 7 grants. So one that is consistent is Title I, and our folks are working really hard there in terms of we still have federal and state requirements that we have to meet for Title I. CARES Act, you can see there, that is for our reentry to support that. And then Last Mile Internet Project, that is for our low-income students to provide access and opportunity from internet to provide that for those students. And then we have comprehensive school and improvement grants that support Jones Middle School and our district. So a little bit of an overview in terms of our work as an office.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here tonight. I would like to talk a little bit about student and community services. First thing I'd like for Chad to pull up is our dashboard. We're working to keep the public and our employees very well informed. So as you see that dashboard come up, you will see that we report on a daily basis the number of positive cases that are cumulative. You'll see those by date, by school. You will also see on the left-hand side the positive by school, just with numbers. We look at comparing in the bottom of left quartile there, the state, the nation, as well as Boone County numbers. So I can't read those numbers from here, but I believe that Kentucky is the blue line, and it was 19.9. The United States was 13, and Boone County Schools was 9.9 now, it was 10 point something yesterday. So we try to keep that updated on a daily basis. We have our school nurses fill out Google forms so that we know which students or staff are positive. And then we also have a Google form around the types of students who are exposed or staff and are quarantined. If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer those. Okay, we wanted to talk to you just a few minutes. Yes, sir.
So one of the things we've seen from other districts is adding quarantine numbers. Have we given that any thought? Or is there a reason we would or would want to do that?
We can do that. It's just getting the numbers up there. We just have to figure out another way to make the dashboard look really nice.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, one of the things, and we're going to talk about this in our new business item later, but one of the things we've learned from other districts around the country or here in our state is tracking the quarantines with the resulting absences. One case might result in 10 absences for one person, or it could be 40 absences for 3 or 4 people, right? So it's been pretty interesting what we've seen in the data over time, and we'll talk about that some more later, but I think it'd be a good snapshot for the community.
Absolutely, we can work on that. Anything else? Okay, attendance and participation. As you know, we're not taking attendance this year. We are tracking participation. Now, participation means engagement of the student with the teacher. We are going to go back to the 2018-19 STAR numbers in order for us to get our ADM. So with that, we take attendance on the days that kids are in for safety reasons, so that then we know if there's an emergency who's in the building. But participation is what we do this year. If indeed a student is not participating, then the schools are responsible for putting together an education plan. That education plan is created between schools and parents. If indeed the students still are not participating, we send out our family and school together team or our friskies to work with the families to check on their needs and to do that in a home visit method. Mental health and SEL has jumped tremendously. During the summer, we anticipated this, and with our positive behavior interventions teams, we did trauma-informed training. We worked on how to build a positive culture of self-care and align trauma-informed care, SEL, and self-care into a multi-tiered framework. Our mental health professionals from the community are still with us. Our school psychologists, our school counselors are tremendously busy. Our family resource centers and nurses are also taking on some of the mental health so that we can check in with students. One of the big things that we are doing still with SEL is SEL strategies. We have the panorama survey, and teachers and everyone who is involved with that student are checking in very briefly with students on a daily basis. And we put together with human resources the emergency assistance program, so we have a tiered model with that too. Thank you.
She just walked away with it. One to the side. Right.
My name is Eric McCarter, and I am going to represent the operations side of the district and go over transportation, human resources, finance, and food service real briefly with you. Our transportation department is comprised of 274 drivers. There are 207 routes and 468 total runs throughout the day. I want to give them a huge compliment going all the way back to March when this started, because once we basically went into virtual learning, we were delivering meals all over the county back then, back in March, April, May, throughout the whole summer. We've been delivering meals throughout the whole first part of the year to feed kids. And so the drivers are to be commended. It's not an easy job whatsoever to drive a bus. And now it's even a little bit harder because now you're having kids have to wear a mask on the bus. So imagine yourself driving a bus and you've got kids behind you, making sure they have their mask on and they're worn properly. So it's a difficult job. So they do a really good job, and I'm very thankful we have the drivers that we have. So the buses are all supplied with extra masks. If students happen to forget their mask when they come up in the morning, they're not going to be denied a ride. We will give them a mask so they can get on the bus, and then we can transport them to school. Once they're at school, all the buses are cleaned and sanitized in between each run. So when we drop off the high school and middle school students, they'll be sanitized before they go get the elementary students. And then they'll be sanitized again before we go do an elementary run or go back to pick students up in the afternoon. So I do, again, want to give them a huge compliment for what they do every day. We're constantly looking for drivers. So if there's anybody in this audience that wants to drive a bus, you can come up and see Mr. Sheehy before he retires, and we'll get you hired and go on the bus. So we really would appreciate that. Human resources is our next area. Currently, for the retirements, we've had 10 to date this year, and classified retirements are 14. The acts, the traditional family leave acts, and then the leaves that are due to COVID are 70 and 71, and those numbers go up daily. Currently, we have 440 subs in the district to help with our teachers who might be absent or might be on leaves. And we did a survey of the subs early in the year to see how many subs would actually help and come and work. And 90% of them said they would be taking jobs throughout the year. And then 64% at that time said they would do 10 or more days throughout the year, meaning that they would work continuously. And we are, again, looking for substitute teachers. And if you're interested in that, contact Mr. Sheehy. We're constantly looking for substitutes. And we'd be more than happy to help you and put you in the right position for a school or whatever other positions that we may have available. Finance, I wanted to give you a little bit of a breakdown of what we've spent so far due to COVID. If you look at those are really big numbers. Just the health and cleaning supplies for schools, over $270,000. For food service, $28,000. That's just the bag of food that we give the kids and the bags for food and additional equipment for the workers. Transportation and what they need to clean the buses and things of that nature, $58,000. Just general equipment for sanitizing to meet guidelines, $44,000. Technology, obviously, is a huge number, $282,000. And then there are different things that may need to be purchased as we move forward throughout the year. So to date, $683,000 that we have. Linda will be giving a financial report later in the regular board meeting after the consent agenda. So there might be some more questions there that you may have, and we can be happy to answer those. Food service. They are to be commended too. All of our departments are to be commended. Food service, especially too. While transportation, they have served meal after meal after meal, day after day after day. Today, breakfast meals served over 84,000. Lunch, 86,000, over 86,000. And we continue to serve people that are on hybrid schedule or virtual schedules as well. That can get grab and go lunches. Those are the options at the bottom that they can choose from. So we've really done an outstanding job, I think, and that's to commend Dr. Corey for overseeing this and helping food service and make sure that we are meeting the needs of our kids, no matter if they're in school or out of school. So they're to be commended as well. So that's really a brief overview of what we've done so far, but be happy to answer any questions, or Linda or Mike or Phil. Phil, do you want to ask anything for human resources? We'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Eric, I was just curious on the virtual students, how many of them are actually coming in and grabbing meals? Is it a
Any idea, Mike?
Like percentage wise?
I wouldn't be able to answer that right offhand.
We could get that to them.
Yeah,
I'd be
that
curious.
can be answered, I just can't do it for you offhand.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
Question still?
Yeah.
I got one more piece.
what's that?
I got one more piece.
Okay.
Okay.
It's part of the superintendent's? Okay. Yep.
Just one more part. Just want to talk a little bit further about human resources. Mr. Sheehy, with his retirement, has done a great job over the years. And I just want to talk a little bit about that role, that department within our organization, because it's incredibly important to our aim of effectively educating our students. Mr. Sheehy and I, since I've started the job here, we've worked together on several different projects, and he has moved some things along and done some really, really good work there. I just want to highlight that, but also just highlight that work that's been done. One is we work together that HR is again a part of our weekly cabinet meetings of all of our district office leaders working to solve problems and better serve our schools. One thing I charged human resources to begin work on was to be sure we're focusing on recruiting and retaining a diverse workforce, which is incredibly important for our students. We want one that mirrors our student body and mirrors our community at large. Also, Mr. Sheehy has been working on a process that we can regularly recognize longevity and service for our employees. That's something that we currently don't do, and it's an omission that we need to correct and recognize our staff in all areas of the organization for their years of service. Also, we've formed an equity and diversity task force that Human Resources, the director and assistant director serve on. And that task force is developed to purposefully and intentionally further our learning, our organizational learning through the lens of equity and diversity, and to serve as a resource to Human Resources as they work to recruit and retain top quality teachers. We've also worked on just the emphasis of support and development of all employees, as Mr. Sheehy mentioned. We've worked on enhancing the induction processes for the new employee, which LSS is a part of, finance, in other parts of our organization, benefits, and also collaborated with Mr. Sheehy and Mrs. Rubin there to put an employee assistance program into place this year to support all of our employees and their families, especially important in difficult times as we're in right now. And overall, just focusing on developing a strong professional learning community within HR. He mentioned the team and the work that they do and how well they work together. And I just want to emphasize how important that is, that they work as a group to continually solve and address the needs of our employees and to collaborate at a high level as all of our schools and different parts of the organization hire new employees, trying to get the best people that we possibly can. So I want to thank again Mr. Sheehy for his work on some of these items, and I know some of these things that the human resource staff that's here has done a great job with so far. So I thank you for your work.
Okay, so I want to explain real quick. We pulled the superintendent's report forward because some of the elements they spoke to will help with our discussion in a few minutes around the new business items. Does anyone on the board have a question right now, something you want to dig into, or comment, discussion? That looks like Ms. Pyle.
So I have a couple of questions for you, Jenny. You talked about the pacing guide and that pretty well we're staying on with the pacing guide. How are you ensuring that students are mastering content and the teachers aren't just staying on a pacing guide?
Yeah, that's been really important with the Wednesday PLC day, so that there's a tightness between administration, instructional coaches guiding that conversation. We did lack data, formal data. We don't really have anything since K prep of 18-19 school year that's systematic and formal. So they're relying on their school-based assessment until we got CERT and STAR, which we're finishing up this month. So there's some universal screening kind of data that we're kind of weighing up against the standards. And there's a process that the coaches have been trained on how to lead through that. So if I have a common assessment with these standards on it, I'm able to look across my grade level and identify what standards were what we call in the red, meaning students have not shown mastery of. And then they put that, they document that, and then we're looking at the pacing guide. Okay, so where was this standard taught from last quarter in your previous year or in this new school year, so that I kind of mark that standard as one that needs more work. And then they develop next steps. Some of the next steps are internal with their own team, where they're going to say, we're going to flexibly group kids to kind of go differentiate that way. Some of it's going to be hit at a later unit. So schools are handling that process differently, but they're all basically kind of working towards staying as aligned as possible. I just talked to Stephanie Stambaugh. She said her school has never been more tight to the pacing guide because of the intense collaboration the teachers are doing now, and how on A days they're getting 2 ELA lessons and 2 math lessons in every day because of the time that they have with that small group. So that's basically hopefully that.
Okay. Another question, when it comes to the ELL students, you said we've had 150 new ones enroll. When those are being enrolled, are they coming into the hybrid model or are they coming into the virtual model?
Hey, Jenny, do you mind to jump near the mic? Sorry. It's hard for the folks online to hear. Thank you.
Okay, Julie, will you say your question again?
Sure. You mentioned that we've had 150 new ELL students enroll. Are those students being enrolled in the hybrid model or the virtual model?
Both. And it depends on the family's choice. It's not, if they're an EL student and the schools or the team, the EL teachers, the departments, any of us sees this is a struggling learner because of lack of internet access or lack of, fluency with using the Chromebook or whatever, then we've worked with some families to say, you need to be hybrid. Their first choice may have been virtual, but we're saying for teaching and learning, let's look at the hybrid. We also, though, are trying to respect families. Some of the families that have recently enrolled, especially our newcomers, needed the virtual model for family dynamics. And we want to appreciate that. We value that as their culture. So we've not been strong arming that at all. It's just been kind of a collaboration with families, but they are in all A, B, and virtual.
Okay. Then I just have one more question. Have we thought about surveying the virtual learning families to see how that is going at the different levels?
Yes. Yes, we thought about it. I think part of it, we wanted to see what happens here tonight going forward so that we're able to kind of dig further into that. We have worked with the teachers. We have more plans to do that for professional learning support of a balance of how service models are happening with virtual, but no, we've not done it yet, but yes, we're thinking about that.
Jenny, to add on to Ms. Miles asked
Jenny,
about
To add on, Ms. Miles asked about virtual learning. I think you mentioned it earlier in terms of Chromebooks. I know I was in a school earlier this week and some were being refurbished. I know we're still set, we're 1-to-1. We have some coming in. That back order, is it longer than, do you have an idea of how far that back order is and will we have those by January?
Mary Ann Reike could really speak to that. She's the one in constant communication with the vendor. We were supposed to have those by September the 1st. That was the original date.
Right. Thank you.
Before I run back, any other questions?
Not a question, Jenny, but just an observation. Regardless of how we proceed, we still have students and families who prefer the virtual learning. And the board has heard a lot about their struggles and needs are being met, needs are not being met. So we're going to keep a virtual option for families, for those who choose that. And I think we need to respect those wishes. So if we're going, since we're not going to do away with the virtual, I think that survey is even more critical. I know that you probably would like to tear your hair out here about doing another survey, but if we don't get the feedback of the people who are living it day by day, the families and the teachers, we're never going to be able to live up to the commitment that we made that virtual instruction would not be a continuation of NTI. And I know we can do that, but we need to know what we need to know to make it better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's lots of options depending upon the level. So like elementary has its own kind of struggle we have not found a really high quality, full content delivery method in elementary. Meaning we've got the structures, we've got the consuming kind of programs, Lexia, Dreambox, Google Classroom. The teachers are live somewhat, that kind of thing. Middle and high, we do have the technology supports for that, but it needs to be cleaned up, it needs to be clarified, it needs to kind of be aligned more to our pacing guide, balanced as far as maybe, some more evidence of learning beyond just sustaining time on a Chromebook. There's a lot of conversation to happen there. So yeah, we have some plans for that. It's just getting down the road a little bit.
If I may add to that also, one aspect we're looking at and planning on, along with that survey Ms. Watson was referring to, is we're at the point in time where we're going to need to, we are start planning out the survey to talk to our parents and our families about second semester. Because we asked them to have a semester-long commitment for virtual learning, if that's what they wanted to do, for the allocation of resources for the entire semester. So we're starting that process of getting ready. It'll probably happen at the end of this month, early in November, where we're going to ask families, based on where we are now, what is your preference? What's your decision on wanting to move forward in the second semester?
Those two will be merged together.
And Jenny had a quick question. I know you mentioned that there was a standalone kind of option for middle school and high school. Is that the Edgenuity? And that is not without its challenges from what I've heard from our families. My daughter had a nickname for her Edgenuity instructor. It was Mr. Boring. So
That's right. That's what I mean by cleaning up. Because some of the lessons are excellent, rigorous, high level, high quality, and then others are not. And we didn't have the turnaround time by the time we got the access to that full district for us to really work with our coaches to make sure what are we vetting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the work that we would need to do before second semester.
Good. Okay, that is the superintendent's report. Thank you, everyone. All right, where's my paper? We are to item 6, what is now item 6, the audience of citizens. It looks like we have 8 folks that have signed up to speak. So I do have a statement here I'll read. For those of you that were at the meeting, I see a few familiar faces from Tuesday, and if you watched it online, I'll just reiterate, there's 2 sides to this decision process. So let's be kind, let's be respectful. If someone speaks the opposite of what your thought process is, I recommend highly listen to them, try to understand where they're coming from. Because regardless of where we head as a district over the next weeks and months, we're going to have to figure this out together. And not everybody's going to be real pleased with where we're going. So let's try to start that tonight with a really good, public dialogue on an important matter. The other thing is, our students are watching. So our kids are watching. Let's be a great example for them. Unfortunately, much of our public debate is not a good example. Okay, so with that, let me read the statement here on how we handle audience of citizens. If you want to just kind of start lining up, maybe our first 5 or so: Tiffany Schusler, Sarah Cheek, Marjorie Hughes, Amber Ham, and Kimberly Ferrara. Okay, so the audience of citizens is a time for the board to receive information, not a time to discuss, answer questions, or to debate a matter. We cannot legally, nor would we, discuss an issue of a specific employee or student in respect to privacy. We welcome your comments. If you have a concern that you'd like response from this board or the administration, please give your name and your address before you speak so that we may contact you. If you'd wish to make a statement only and no response, you don't have to give your name. If there's a group of you here that kind of have the same message, we highly recommend kind of pick a spokesperson and let them speak for you. In order to make sure everyone is heard tonight, we do want to keep the time limit to 2 minutes. We'll keep a timer here. And again, if you share an opinion of somebody that spoke before you, just say ditto for Dr. Schusler or whoever it is, and that'll be duly noted. Okay, thank you. And Dr. Schusler.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Superintendent and the school board. I wanted to talk tonight because I listened to the meeting on Tuesday, and I got a very strong sense of some fear and dread from some of our teachers and some of our principals. And I wanted to share very quickly a little story. I'm a dentist. I work in Heber, and I have my own practice. Can you guys hear me okay with the mask on? We were part of the shutdown back in the spring when the governor asked for voluntary medical services to shut down. We were closed for 8 weeks, and then we got the green light to go ahead and reopen. Obviously not without some trepidation on our part. We were taking guidelines from the CDC, which changed about every 15 seconds. And, you know, we had to put a lot of safeguards in place. When I wasn't doing NTI with my own children, I spent every minute of every day online watching webinars about safety and protocols and buying stuff that I didn't even know if I would need to safely reopen my office. But I sat down and I put together a protocol to reopen that involved safe practices for my profession. Obviously, in my profession, I cannot maintain 6 feet of social distancing. I work 6 inches from the orifices that spread COVID-19 on a daily basis, all day long. And I'm the only one that has a mask on. The patient obviously doesn't have a mask on. But with that being said, the protocols I put in place, the policies that I implemented, and the safeguards that I put in place have to date protected me. I've been open for 5 months now. No one in my office has contracted COVID or spread it around. There have been no documented cases by the CDC of transmission in dental offices nationwide. We trust our protocols, we trust our policies. And I just wanted to try to reassure people with some doubt that you're going to have fear. You're going to have trepidation. It's scary. I know I'm comparing apples to oranges, but it's scary. But you have to trust your process and you have to trust your protocols. And if you follow them to the letter, they will protect you. But you can't let your guard down. You have to follow everything to the letter because it only takes one misstep to take out an entire classroom. And so I just want to say that if you have, I mean, if people have questions, I'm here to answer. I live COVID every day. I live protocols every day. But I'm nervous every day when I go in. But if I was so nervous that I couldn't work, I wouldn't do it. And I'm doing it. So trust your protocols.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, Sarah Cheek, thanks again for hearing from me. 2 minutes is short. I tried to make a point on Tuesday regarding mental health. I don't feel like I did a really good job of it, but I wanted to point out again that suicide is the second leading cause of death, second only to accidents in the age group 10 to 20. We're all aware of the impact that this is having on our children's mental health. The board's reviewing data for COVID that includes a 7-day rolling average per 100,000. Last I looked, which is down today, but was 10.8 on Tuesday. In Kentucky, suicide is 15.3 per 100,000. Opioid deaths are 20.7 per 100,000. But yet for COVID, at this point, it's far less deadly for the far majority of our population. Decisions are being made that we know will drive the more deadly diseases I just referenced even higher. I know you hear this a lot, but continue to hear us. I have a daughter who's in 6th grade at Kemper. She's cried at least once a week, every single week since we started learning virtually. She actually cried happy tears to find out that she was allowed to go back to school for just 2 days. My neighbor has a 7th grader at the same school, has a 0 in Spanish right now. I'm not sure how that happens at this point in the year, but a 0. Both of his parents are working outside the house because that's the only option they have. I know you see and hear these stories every day as the rest of us do. I try not to come up here and say that, we talk about what the other schools are doing. I hear you guys say we're not all the same, but I have to be honest, we're not all that different either, so I'm going to say it. Kent County has all primary grades in class 5 days a week. Campbell County has a legit plan to get students back 5 days a week early November. Catholic schools are in session. Indiana schools are in session. Tennessee schools are in session. For Pete's sake, the hotspot Florida that nobody wanted to go to has their schools back in session, and the rates are trending down 16%. I sat here on Tuesday, did my best to respectfully listen. I am not anti-teacher. I'm the opposite of that. I need the teachers, and I need my kids in the classroom. I'm doing a terrible job teaching them. I'm doing a terrible job. Please let them do their job. Let me do mine. It's different. I'm interested to know when you're voting.
What's that?
I'm interested to know when the vote is. I know on Tuesday you said we're not voting today. Are you going to get?
We have an item on the agenda. We might vote, we might defer, but the plan is to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Marjorie Hughes.
My name is Marjorie Hughes. I live here in Boone County. I've lived here for 15 years. I served in the Air Force for 23 years. My husband is currently serving at the Pentagon. He's been serving for 32 years. We are very educated individuals. We are not able to teach our kids what they need to learn. We depend on our school system, which is why I moved to Boone County. I'm going to go to my script real quick. 15 years ago, my family selected Boone County solely based on the community and the top-notch education system. For those 15 years, I drove to work in Ohio and rant and raved ongoing about the caliber of our school system in Boone County. As a parent of a child at grade middle school, 2 that graduated from Raleigh with full ride college scholarships and are successful in their careers and living in Boone County today with kids in your school system. Again, highly disappointed with the lack of the plans that have been developed to get our kids back to school 5 days a week. As you know, the impact of each day that goes by with our kids on in-person learning, the mental health, depression, anxiety, and suicide rates in the community will be impacted. The Air Force suicide rates are higher than they've ever been in 32 years right now. It has a lot to do with the fact that these people that are deployed are also teaching their kids. We cannot do that to our folks in our community. This will reflect our community for many years to come. In addition, our school task force will be impacted negatively and will not attract individuals to our community. While I understand and agree with the initial public and government response across the country, and more specifically in Kentucky and in Boone County, regarding an attempt to flatten the curve of COVID-19 so the hospitals and medical communities were not overwhelmed, we are far beyond that now. COVID-19 has a 99% survival rate. According to Indiana website, Indiana COVID death numbers trend line hasn't changed since 6/10. Today, ranging from 0 to 25 consistently. They've been in school for 2 months. According to Ohio.gov website, COVID death numbers trend line hasn't changed from 6/28 today, ranging from 0 to 90 consistently. They have been in school for 2 months. The community, taxpayers, and more importantly, our kids are relying on you, superintendent, board members, and this community, and leaders across each of these schools in our community to get our kids back to school 5 days a week so that we as parents can do our jobs and teachers can do their jobs. We need them more than ever today. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Ann?
Hi, my name is Amber Ham. I am a parent of a 7-year-old autistic son and a 12-year-old daughter that go to Boone County schools. We moved here 2 years ago because of the schools. I want to make sure that everyone is truly aware of how this is affecting our kiddos with severe mental illness or diagnoses like autism, like my son. A simple 20-minute intervention for his IEP on handwriting results in a meltdown of him screaming, "I don't want to get back on the computer. No more." I mean, it's every day. He's not retaining. I don't really see how minutes are getting met for his special needs through his IEP when it's virtually. And there's also other kids in the room with them virtually, so they're not getting that one-on-one attention. We need to do better for these kids. They need better than 2 days a week, especially elementary school children. The teachers are working hard. My son's teacher is a godsend. I mean, we adore her. We adore Burlington Elementary School. They're doing everything they can, but something needs to change for these elementary school kids who do have these serious diagnoses. They can't work independently. My son is expected to work independently 3 days a week. He can't even turn a computer on by himself. How is he supposed to independently work? I have a job, I'm in mental health. I'm also working with 38 other kids, trying to make sure that their needs are met as well. We have to do better, Boone County. We have to come together and do better for these kids. Thank you.
Thank you. So after Kimberly, we have Shannon Hornback and Christina Haynes. If you want to go ahead and jump in line. Ms. Ferrara.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm a mother of 2 Shirley Mann Elementary School children, grades 4 and 1. I really didn't want to speak tonight, but after listening to the meeting on Tuesday night, I really was disheartened. I felt like our children, especially elementary school children, were not getting a voice. Mann Elementary is the best. We love our teachers there. The staff is incredible. Teachers are doing everything they can for our kids. They're rocking it. with what we've been given. But unfortunately, what we've been given, I don't think is really working. On Tuesday night, there was a lot of discussion from staff that they didn't feel safe going back. And there's a lot of jobs out there, my husband's, who they don't have a choice if they go back. Their company says it's time to go back, and that's what they do. That's what they did. My husband's exposed to hundreds of people. He has to go into manufacturing plants. We need an income, so that's what he does, because that's his job. He can't lose it. So I guess teachers should be essential workers. In my mind, they are essential workers because they're educating our children. When schools around us are back and our private schools have been back in session since mid-August, it's hard to understand why we are not going back 5 days a week. We had our son in Catholic school a couple of years ago. We pulled him out because we genuinely believed Mann Elementary was better than a Catholic school that we were at. That's not the circumstance anymore because he's not being educated 5 days a week like the Catholic schools are. If other schools are doing it, we can do it too. My other point I guess I want to make is this virus isn't going to go anywhere. There was some discussion on Tuesday night that we have to wait until it's the right time, that teachers want to get back when it's the right time. But when is that going to be? Because COVID's not going anywhere. So we need to learn to live with it. Our children are playing sports because they're not in school. I can't wrap my head around that. I grew up that if your academics aren't where they need to be, you don't play. So I'm having a hard time sending my kids to Bible school and all these sports and understanding why they can't go to school. They're at a disadvantage. I thank God every day that I can be home with my children and help them, but we know that other kids don't have that help. We have to do better for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Hornbeck.
I reiterate some points about the surrounding counties. And after sitting here and listening to the assistant superintendent, my biggest question is, why aren't we doing better? I feel like Boone County is constantly lagging behind. One of my big points is we're the only county that doesn't have full-day kindergarten, which is a separate issue. However, it's an example of what's going on right now. We are constantly behind everyone else, and I think that we need to take a good look at that. The private schools are in session; they're doing great. Kane County, the second person up here on the mic has already said this. We should be ashamed of our county right now when we have teachers, and I don't know if it's true, but 46% do not want to come back. We should be ashamed when that is not happening in any other county. With all due respect, I don't understand how we could possibly be on pace at all. I have 4 children in Boone County, and currently my 3rd grader gets 4 assignments. 4. He's 2.5 years away from middle school. On Wednesday, there are no students in the building, and he has not had a Google Meet since hybrid started, last week or this week. There is no teacher interaction. I love my school. I love the teachers. They work hard, but there absolutely could not be any way we are on pace. No way. We need to do better. And we have a saying in our house, like, work harder, nobody cares. I think that we need to adopt that in Boone County. I was listening to you talk about, we have plans for this, and we have plans for this. We need to do better than plans. We're going to wait and see what the vote is tonight. We need to do better than that. We need to come up with a plan. We need to be proactive. And so far, that is not what we have right now.
Thank you. And Christina Haynes.
So I'm a student at Connor Middle School. I'm in 7th grade. And from what I'm seeing from my other peers is they have very, very bad depression from this pandemic and very, very bad anxiety. I know at least 10 of my friends who have been crying and texting me and saying, I need to talk to you. I don't know what to do with this. And it's sad that they don't have, they can't do anything about it. And they can't do anything about this whole entire thing about going back to school, because that's the only thing they want right now is 5 days back at school. They want to see their teachers. They want to see their friends. They want more interaction. And they want to see, 2 days of school for them is not enough, and it's not enough for me either, because when I do virtual, they have, at least in every single class, a quiz, reading,
and also a activity, not an activity, but an assignment, an extra assignment. A couple days ago, I stayed up till 10:15 submitting work for all my teachers. And if I was at school, I'd be done by 2:30 instead of going back at home, logging into my computer, and then typing in all my assignments. And like, I'm a paper pencil person, and like being on the computer all day and having all this work stresses me out a lot. And not knowing when will we go back to school, and not knowing when will this all like come to an end, because I've been out of school since March, and my grade completely dropped to a C when my expectation is a B or an A. And that point I was shocked that like virtual can do this to my grade instead of going back at school. Right now, since I'm going back at school, I have at least A's and B's right now. But I'm hoping if we do go back to 5 days, and I really am hoping we do go back to 5 days, I don't have to worry about my grades so much. And I have to worry about my grades so much. So.
Thank you, Christina. Hey, did I miss this? Where do you go to school? Where do you go to school? Yeah. Okay, Connor. Thank you.
Are you on the debate team?
Okay, thank you, everyone. Yeah, did anybody else want to talk that did not sign in? Okay. If you don't mind, just give us your name.
My name is Justin Haynes. I go to Connor High School. And, well, I have a lot of things to say. To be fairly honest.
2 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
2 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I can deal with that. Yeah, I agree with my sister that mental health is pretty bad right now. Like, it definitely can get worse, but it definitely got pretty bad. I usually, like last year, when I was a freshman, I got way better grades. This year I'm failing one class. I'm doing semi-good, and others I got C in my history, so but I don't think this is this entire NTI is kind of learning, it's working well with me. And I know it's not working well with many other students. I asked some of my other fellow peers today, what did they think about 5 days, 4 days, at least? And they were like, that sounded good. They all agreed with that. It's a pretty good idea. They all think that going back to school is a very great idea. At least if it was even some form of pattern that we're doing right now with one-way hallways, or wearing masks, or temperature checks. It's still a really great idea. I'm trying to think of what else I'm trying to say. But.
You don't have to take the full 2 minutes.
No, I'm trying to think about the points I was trying to say, but all I know is that I know this is not working out with me and other students. I've seen drastic changes with behavior, drastic grade changes. I know that I'm the margin, and many people have already collapsed because of their low grades and everything, because you have to have at least, you need to be passing most of your classes, you have to be at least 2. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. If you don't mind giving your name.
My name is Timothy Nicolai. I'm a science teacher at Connor High School. There's a few things that I just want everyone to be aware of, just so you know. So we are, as teachers, we're perfectly aware of all the situations you're bringing up. There's just a few things I want you to know and the board to know before you cast your vote on this issue. It was stated on the meeting on Tuesday, but just so you all are aware that if we do go back to full in-person, whether 5 or 4 days, social distancing isn't going to happen. It can't be done. Like I have one class, for example, that it has 28 students in it. Social distancing is impossible with a room of this size. At best, we have them 2 feet apart on a good day. So there are some classrooms that are, especially with some of the special ed classrooms, are literally about the same size as a jail cell. Like literally like a 9 by 10 foot room, social distancing isn't gonna happen in there. So if we do go back, you do just need to be aware of that danger and that fact, such as it is. On the aspect of bringing the students back, the one thing I want the board to know is that so long as we're going to maintain the virtual groups, 5 days a week is not a very good idea, at least for the high school and middle school, just because right now we currently have 1 day a week on Wednesdays, as it is right now, to deal with the virtual students. If we do go back full in person, 4 days a week with 1 day for the virtual would be the ideal scenario as opposed to full 5 days, because if we go back to full 5 days a week virtual, unless the board is going to invest money into a program like Ingenuity or something similar, we have data that says something else works better, use that instead. But as of right now, if we go to full back 5 days, we do not have the time to do the virtual teaching and assignment. It just can't be done. And the other note is that we do want them to come back, because as of right now, with 2 days a week in there, like having them only for 2 days a week, I can't do my job as effectively as I could if I had them back in full days. So I do want them to come back, but there are certain limitations that and things that we'll just have to give. So just so you guys are aware, there are certain safety precautions that if we do bring them back in, it can't be done.
Thank you, Mr. Nikolai. We're going to talk about some of those precautions and how they have to adjust. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Bailey Ham. I am a 7th grader at Camp Rex Middle School. And I know starting when we were starting virtual and now doing hybrid, it's really hard to get on, and there's not very much instruction and not very many videos. It's normally meeting 1 day and getting not a lot of instruction, like I said. And then having so many assignments and quizzes due by the end of the week. And also I know it's really hard having helped my brother with Ray has autism and helping him in 2nd grade and him having so many assignments too. But also a lot of people have said with mental health and people having a really hard time getting things done and worrying about it. And just I know one of my friends have had a lot of mental breakdowns because she's so worried about everything and trying to get everything done and grades and all of that is just really hard to do. And I feel like if we go back and getting more instruction and learning more, that it'll be a lot easier to get our assignments done and our grades back up and get higher quiz scores.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Haynes. I wanted to find out through the board about liability waivers that parents are willing to sign, if that's one of the issues that's preventing us from reopening. The other issue was volunteering. We needed parents to assist in our own school or other schools. We're willing to do whatever we need to do to open us back up. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Are we good? Okay, thank you to everyone. All right, so I am noticing, it was pointed out to me, we've got quite a few masks dropped, which is within our right. If I put mine on, will everybody put their mask on? No, a couple no's. Come on, we got to be in this together, guys. Okay, so that brings us to item I've lost track of my numbers since we changed the agenda. 6? Or so now 7, I think. Recommended action, old business, right? I'm sorry. Yeah. I gotta flip back a few pages. My board colleagues know I'm really good at messing up procedural items, but it's been a few meetings. I've gotten better. Okay, so item 7, recommended action consent agenda. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recommend the board approve the consent agenda items A through U with the treasurer's report given by Mrs. Linda Shield as presented. Mrs. Shield?
Okay, we began the month with a cash balance of $28,934,422. Our receipts for the month were $9,329,606. Our expenditures paid were, I'm sorry.
Just come up to the microphone.
Oh, I have to do
Are
this.
you online?
Oh.
For our observers that are streaming.
Start over. We began the month with a cash balance of $28,934,422. Our receipts for the month were $9,329,606. Total expenditures paid were $11,459,744. We had a net decrease in cash for the month of $2,130,138. Ending balance at the end of the month was $26,804,284. And I have my notes. Just wanted to point out just a couple of things. 2.9 million in occupational license taxes were collected this month. We also had 145,000 in foreign trade zone payments. In general, I wanted to say that the expenses are reflecting expected levels. We are showing a decrease in transportation costs, though. We had 261,000 transferred to the Ignite Fund for the operation of Ignite, and our debt service payments were 4.5 million this month. I've provided all of the normal schedules, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, any questions? Just so the audience knows, we do get this material about a week in advance, so we review it and ask questions along the way, but anything tonight? Okay, we have a recommendation. Can I get a motion, please? And a second? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 8, recommended action, old business. We don't have any old business tonight. That brings us to item 9, recommended action, new business. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From the onset of this pandemic, 3 priorities have emerged and have been a central part of every conversation we've had and practically every other school system has had. How do we effectively educate our students, keep our students and our staff and our community safe, and the effect that this pandemic has on our families and jobs? Our teachers and our administrators take great pride in keeping the needs of our children first. However, we must also be mindful of keeping our employees safe, both physically and mentally. We must all be sure to recognize that the changes to the instructional model for administrators and staff are time-consuming and energy-consuming. And these changes are in addition to the work of the instructional model in which they're currently working. Our school teachers and our leaders I've worked very hard since June to learn and to problem solve on how we can educate our students in a completely different way, following guidelines that smash apart the strategies that we typically use to organize the normal routines of the school and the learning processes in our classrooms. Our principals, we've met each week to learn about safety protocols and share best practices. This year, we also set up a group of school liaisons that serve as our school's direct connections to our district leaders, and they meet weekly to compare notes and look for trends and needs across the district. All of these tasks have been completed in a constantly, regularly changing landscape of regulations and guidelines. As superintendent, I also worry about the challenges and difficulties that our parents and our children face during this pandemic. The stresses and the strain of their jobs and the responsibilities are heightened by everything. Its effects on childcare and by the challenges presented by not having children in school each day. We will continue to serve our students and our families that have chosen virtual instruction for the rest of this semester. We will also continue to follow the communications protocol established by the Kentucky Department of Education, where we will evaluate the status of the pandemic and use the closure criteria that's defined on our district's COVID-19 dashboard that you saw earlier. We will do that each Thursday evening to determine the status of our entire district for the following week. The closure criteria is as follows: the daily new cases per 100,000 population on a 7-day rolling average, the trend line of daily new cases per 100,000 population, the infection rate, the positive rate, the quarantine data and how it impacts our schools, the successful implementation of the health and safety protocols each and every day, and the directives from our Northern Kentucky Health Department. Due to the large sizes of our school, we want to specifically target our responses to COVID-19 issues in any of our schools. With this process in place, we will work to be responsive, specific, and as precise as possible in the future when we need to close an individual school or parts of a school. After listening to all the concerns and gathering input and feedback, speaking with many stakeholders, holding a public forum, I've given these issues considerable thought and reflection. My recommendation as superintendent for providing more in-person instruction to our students is as follows: to provide 4 days of in-person instruction for both A and B groups each week on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, to maintain Wednesday as a necessary support and intervention day for our students receiving virtual instruction, to begin this change to our instructional model on Thursday, October 29th. Using the communications process I previously mentioned, we will communicate to parents on Thursday, October 22nd, the status of our instructional model for the following week based on the conditions in the community. In this situation, that means whether we'll start on actually Thursday the 29th. This schedule will provide 3 full weeks for our schools and our district administrators, our teachers, our students, and our families to prepare. Time will be needed to plan, to organize schedules and routines, to get furniture and equipment into place. This change will also provide additional time for students and employees to become comfortable implementing and practicing school and safety protocols that are specified in Kentucky's guidance on safety expectations and best practices for Kentucky schools. And to be very honest, this is a great challenge, and it will require significant work and energy on behalf of our employees. I do believe this is the right path, as many of our students are struggling, especially our families and students that are in great need. I also worry about our staff and our many teachers as they're struggling at times with the complexities of teaching in a hybrid model where they're serving the needs of 3 separate groups of students. We can accomplish this. Schools and districts in other states have opened and have stayed open effectively and safely. We are now the largest district in Kentucky providing any in-person instruction. Let's continue to lead the way as we always do. To track our progress and provide assistance in achieving this goal, I will be providing a weekly update to our Board of Education on the progress of our schools in preparing for this change of the instructional model. To achieve this end of adding in-person instruction, we will need additional support from our community in several different ways. Our schools will need our parents and our community members to rally and to volunteer, to assist with tasks around the school building or providing more resources. Please reach out to your schools. Be looking for their requests and take action to help support them. We will also need our parents and our community members to assist us in keeping our COVID-19 number of infections down in our county. Following the safety protocols in our community and at home will be crucial to our success. Everyone in Boone County, everyone can help us make this happen. Our students, they must also understand that wearing a mask at school and others around, that they must follow those safety protocols. That is not an optional decision. It's crucial to keeping yourself safe and to keep your classmates and to keep your teachers safe. In closing, I also have significant concerns about the upcoming 4-day weekend and how we travel, the gatherings of our families and friends, how that may cause increased spread of the virus, and that may become evident in the next few weeks. As always, please keep yourself safe, your family safe, and your community safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Okay, I have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? I have a motion, a second? Motion and a second. I will open it for any questions, dialogue, discussion. I'll start off real quick. We don't love every aspect of this plan. There are many people that will question how safe it is. It's going to be really hard on our staff and our teachers, the continual change. And nothing, as Mr. Turner said, nothing about this is going to be easy. We have studied other districts. Have studied other schools. We've walked through schools. We've looked at their data. One of the interesting things that we found, I believe, is that the protocols do work. If you follow the protocols, I won't say you can eliminate the risk in the schools, but you can greatly minimize it. And we've seen that by talking to other districts. One of the, I think, interesting things we saw or cool things we heard was multiple teachers, as we walked through these schools, have said they were really, really nervous. And they didn't really want to come back. But they went to a couple of days of PD just around their colleagues. They got a little bit more comfortable. They rolled students in small groups. They got a little more comfortable. After 2 or 3 weeks, the statement I kind of quoted or kept a quote. She said there was so much joy and gratefulness in the building and myself personally that they were really happy they stepped out on that. So I think there is hope that this can work. But as Mr. Turner said, we've got to be diligent. I know not everyone loves the protocols, but we just have to be diligent. The other thing we've seen as you look at the numbers in some of these districts, some really large schools, that the incident rates have declined as the weeks have gone along. So I think I mentioned it earlier. You'll see the incidence rates decline, the number of absences tied to each of those incident rates. I wouldn't say it's an exhaustive study, but it's a pretty good indication in my view that you get the kids in school, you follow a protocol, they're not out in the community free as many hours of the day. And I know they're doing work, but I think you get the point. If they're hearing it at school over and over, hopefully it's going to carry over to their personal lives. And it can be a nice catalyst of safety for the whole community. And then I guess I'll go ahead and yield. I had a couple other things, but Mr. Turner hit them good. Just, we're going to need your help. I mean, we're going to need your help. So all the parents that have been emailing us and coming up here, we love it, but don't go away. Reach out to your schools, help with temperature checks, help with morning routines, afternoon routines, watching the lunchrooms. As you heard with a little bit of the operational discussion Tuesday night, we're going to have to set up extra areas for all this stuff, and that requires bodies. So does anyone else have questions, comments, discussion items they want to dig into? I was talking to the board. Sorry.
I know this has been a rough couple of months, right? And it's not ending, and we're tired of it, and we don't like it, and we want it to go away. But I can tell you, it's not going away. Not today, not tomorrow. It's gonna be a long time. So I hear from my teachers, and I want to say I hear you, but I'm up here because 21,000 kids need me to do what they need me to do. So I can tell you, we're going to put some strong protocols in place. We're going to perfect them. We're going to make missteps, and we're going to fix it. We're going to provide data. We're going to be transparent. That's what I ask of this board. We look at the data. We drive our decisions based on the data. If it comes up to October 22nd, and fingers crossed it doesn't happen, but if all chaos is breaking loose, we need to make the right decision based on the data. And for me, when we say what's the right time, we have a plan. Let's get our protocols in line. Let's do it. Let's support our schools and our teachers. Everybody's scared. But boy, when I hear stories about kids that are failing everything, this is our one shot for some of these kids to make their lives different. This is it. This is it, right? If we don't do it right, some of these kids will never come back. And I look at my kids that I teach and their little blank black Zoom screens with the letter of their last name. And all I can think is, I love teaching. It's my soul. What I'm doing right now is not teaching. I had my students in my lab face to face, and I can't be like, you're so much better face to face. Yes, I am. And there's an energy that I get from that. So I understand why they're nervous. I'm nervous, right? Every time I spend a couple days with my college football players that I know are not behaving outside of the classroom, I get a little nervous for a few days, wait for that phone call. But I do it because I love it. And that's my job. And that's what I love to do. So it's been a rough couple of weeks. And I hope you know what you see here, the hours and hours and hours and hours that have been put into talking to our principals, our teachers, our administrators, our custodians. You won't find a group of people who look for as much information as they can and work together to see what we can do. You've got a group of people who care about these kids. We care about Boone County. We want it to be better. And we can't get rid of the virus, but we can do everything we can to make the best of the worst situation, because I'll be the first to admit, every option sucks. But we're going to do what we can do. So I appreciate the work that Mr. Turner has put into this. He's been very thoughtful. He's been very detailed. And it's going to take everyone pulling together. We're going to hit hurdles, but together, I know we've got some of the best people that we can possibly have in this district. We have smart people, creative people. We can come together and we can find solutions. And I think that's what I'm crossing my fingers on. We use the data, make our decisions based on data and we move forward. So I appreciate all the thoughtfulness that you put into it. And I think I sent him a very long list of questions and I think he answered almost all of them. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Why did you have to pick on the football players?
They let me know they pick on them and they deserve it. Trust me, they're all college football players.
They can handle it? So I know others want to jump in. I want to maybe piggyback on part of what Mr. Turner talked about. Those of you, I'm sure most all of you paid attention to Tuesday night. I think it appeared there wasn't a lot of work going on. That was a forum for us to receive information. It wasn't a forum for us to debate it and argue it. The last couple of days, we have asked a bunch of questions about, okay, what exactly was going on? We have walked buildings, and I think I just want to reiterate what Mr. Turner said, that weekly principal meetings have been going on to talk through probably a list of 40 to 50 procedural items around safety. Some of those final decisions and execution of those steps happen at the district level, some happen at the school level. We walked buildings where, access to equipment and safety items is readily available. So we didn't magically between Tuesday and Thursday come up with a plan. So I want to make sure people realize that, for his weekly updates he's going to give us, there's still a heck of a lot of work to do from today to the 29th, but we're on call it the 40-yard line going in as opposed to the 1-yard line coming out, right? So I just wanted to make that point. Anyone else?
Karen and I always look at each other, who's going next? I'm just going to reiterate, this has been a very difficult time on everyone. I really appreciate the students who have come out tonight and expressed their student voice. You guys are fantastic to step up and do that and speak for your fellow students. That's where democracy starts, with our voices. We all need to be understanding of each other. This coronavirus and what all of us are doing, as many people have mentioned, it's affecting our mental health. But I also do know when my daughter was born, I suffered from postpartum depression pretty badly. And the one thing I did know that got me out of it with my son, that I did not go into postpartum depression, was getting into a routine. And these kids need routines to help with their mental health. And so do our teachers. There is a big difference in our schools right now on hybrid days and Wednesdays and having the kids in the schools. One thing I do want to express and make sure that we do is for the virtual learners. We're always going to, probably for a foreseeable future, have to have a virtual option. There are some students who do very well on a virtual option. There's some students, because of health conditions, their families need to have that virtual option. But that doesn't mean they're secondary students. They need to be in the front, just like our physical students are there. And so we do need to look at something to make sure they are getting the full education that our in-person students are getting. So I'm kind of looking over here at Jason and Jenny. Something else needs to be done, not just that Wednesday. They need touches with teachers the entire week. I do want to recognize our operations staff with Eric and Mike leading the way. They implement procedures to fidelity. They are so conscious. They do the best. We have the best operations staff, I would say, of all the districts because of what they do. Our transportation, our custodians, our cafeteria workers. We have amazing people here and they are going to do what we need to do, and we know that. So thank you.
these statements that in New York inspiring or flies and those of my colleagues. I have been around a long time. And one thing is understand it. These students here, they get it because guys want to be back in school, right? So that's what it's going to take, and that may make us set aside some of our personal beliefs, which I hate these things, but Dr. Schuster knows I was a dental hygienist for 8 years. I lived in one of these things, and I got out of it hoping I'd never have to go back to it. I don't like wearing this thing. It drives me crazy. But I'm in an at-risk category, but I still go to work every day. I commute to Cincinnati and back, and I will wear this more so to support what we're trying to accomplish here than because I personally believe that I should have to. And if our kids aren't worth it, this little piece of cloth, and thank you, Mrs. Krieger, for making sure I had a Spark mask. If our kids aren't worth it, then we got bigger issues than when we start back to school 4 days a week. So thank you for your passion. Thank you for advocating for your kids. We're your advocates too, but that doesn't mean you have to advocate, that you should advocate your responsibilities to stick up for your kids. For our teachers and staff, I have heard you. I had Mr. McCarter and Dr. Forey out in schools today because of teachers' concerns over supplies and cleaning protocols. And some principals were surprised when they showed up. Didn't mean to catch anyone off guard, but if I hear concerns, that's not the message that we want in our community. That our teachers do not have supplies and they don't understand or haven't been communicated or consistent protocols. Well, we put that to rest over the last 2 days because these gentlemen have sent me pictures of the stockpile of supplies that Dr. Corey, in his preparedness. Why? Because he lives and breathes Boone County schools and our kids. Eric McCarter lives and breathes Boone County schools and our kids. Jenny Watson, Jason Radford, Kathy Rudman, Linda Shield, Phil Sheehy. Linda's in finance. Everything she does with every dollar is for the betterment of our district for these kids. And for our teachers that are scared, we hear you. For those that don't want to be back in the buildings, we hear you. I've never seen a group under Mr. Turner's leadership be as accommodating for 3,500 employees as Boone County Schools have been. So finally, we have a date. So let's all do our parts to make sure we can get there, and even more importantly, stay there, because frankly, I don't know that our kids and our teachers could go through another change in plans. I don't know that I can. And it's just too important. So please work together, be kind, be thoughtful, be supportive, be everything that you've been over these last few weeks as you passionately advocated. Be understanding of each other, support each other, and I am just confident with the people that are surrounding me that no one will do this better than Boone County Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Bird. I do have to correct you. We don't have a date yet. We have to vote.
Aye.
That was good. That was good. Okay, anything else that came to mind or a question? Okay, so I have a recommendation, a motion, and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will carry. That brings us to item 10 on the agenda, information, proposals, and communications. Anything you want to share or any updates? Yes, I think Steeplechase dates for the open forums October 13th and 29th. Are there any college students here? We always ask that at the end. Doesn't look like we have any, but if there's anybody that's here because they're an education major, we usually have them announce themselves. Doesn't look like we have anyone. Give an update.
Yeah, I just have one quick update. Everyone knows my passion project is family school community engagement, and I run a nonprofit called Parent Camp, which I normally don't try to advertise. But the week of October 26th, we are partnering with the U.S. Department of Ed, Special Education Department, U.S. Department of Ed, Family Community School Department, and also the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Early Childhood Department. The week of October 26th is going to be Radical Family Engagement Week. And there are going to be days there's going to be a theme every single day for different organizations or entities. So I'm really pleased to announce that Parent Camp is going to be kicking off that Radical Family Engagement Week with a virtual parent camp on that Monday. And so they're inviting all parents across the US to participate. It's going to be on Monday, the 26th from 1:30 until 3 o'clock. There'll be multiple sessions that parents can choose from. It's really geared towards the early childhood, 0 to 5-year-olds. So if we can get that out to our preschool families, I have a flyer to send out. It's going to be the U.S. Department of Ed, the Department of Health and Human Services really wants family school community engagement because we know we need families to partner just like we're talking about tonight.
Okay, anything else? I think we've been all pretty busy, focused on a certain item, so no more updates, it sounds like. Okay, that brings us to item 11, closed executive session, which we have none. So I will make a recommendation for adjournment. Can I get a motion? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I'm going to call to order the Finance Corporation meeting of the Boone County Board of Education, October 8, 2020, 7:30 p.m. Does anyone want to speak at the audience of citizens? Looks like they're all rolling out. That brings us to item 3, approval of minutes and financial statements, A and B. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recommend the approval of the minutes of the September 10th, 2020 corporation meeting and the approval of the financial statements as presented.
Okay, thank you. I have a recommendation. Can I get a motion, please? I have a motion and a second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. I'll make a recommendation to adjourn. Can I get a motion? Ms. Byrd and Dr. Brown, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?